One time in high school I stole this giant turtle statue from a random yard and put it in my grandma's as a joke. It was around the time the gnome was traveling the world. Well, turned out that the old lady was my grandma's frenemy, and when she came over and saw her stolen turtle she wanted answers. Well, my grandma's answer, if it just showed up, did not satisfy her, and they got into a huge fight about it. The other old lady died a few years ago. I feel bad I never told her that my grandma didn't steal the turtle. I did. You should put that turtle on the frenemies grave. For closure. I once straight up left my car in a parking lot outside the university fully unlocked and running for like 5 hours while I took some classes. This is sandwiched between two suicide comments like a nice little palate cleanser. I used to take shits in my backyard as a kid and let my stepdad find them. One day he called me out. There is no way in hell this was a goddamn stray cat. Played it cool as a cucumber. OMG. I laughed so hard about this. Own it, dude. That is epic. My dad committed suicide a few days before my birthday in October. The last conversation I had with him was about how I thought his shitty ex cheated on him. My mental health isn't the greatest, so I've convinced myself over the last 7 months that it's my fault. I regret that that was the last conversation we had over his dumb fucking ex. There was no suicide note or anything. I miss him every second of every day, and I stare at his urn just sitting there. It's fucking weird, man. There is no reason or logic found behind a choice like that, especially with young children involved. Your father wouldn't want you to punish yourself for his choices. Everyone thinks I'm just a ref asterisk 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 up in the head drug addict. What they don't know is between 11 to 14 my drunk evil stepmom would take me to her favorite bar and pimp me out because it amused her. It destroyed my mind, so I started using drugs not to get high, but to try to forget. I was 50 years old before I told anybody. By then my family had given up on me, my wife left me, and my son hasn't talked to me in over 10 years. That secret was going to die with me, but for some reason I told one friend what happened to me, and she helped me realize it wasn't my fault, or that I'm just a ref asterisk 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 up. Today 12 years later she is still the best friend I've ever had, and I haven't touched cocaine since 2008, even though it cost me everything important to me. I'm really happy for you that you're doing better now. Best wishes for the future. My ex-girlfriend's family told me to break up with her because of her erratic behavior. I will never ever let her know this. My ex-boyfriend's mom, when I called to tell her he had dumped me out of the blue and that I was afraid he was manic and alone, told me it is very strange to say this because he is my son, but you deserve better. Not as dark as the most in here, but as a teen I had a really bad relationship with my dad, and one day I was really pissed and signed his email up in any freaking newsletter I could find online. He still gets spam mails, and doesn't know why. We get along great now. Same. My dad and I butted heads when I was a teenager. He would look for something to complain about just out of boredom, since he was unemployed at the time, and it was usually dumb stuff that he complained about. For example, he would complain about the door latching after I closed it, or how I answered the phone. My mom was the only one who could shut him up, so I got to the point of saying harsh things, so she would get him off of my case. He eventually got back into work, and slowly got better about his attitude. Not really a bad secret, but a friend of mine in college was strapped for cash for groceries one month. There were 3 of them in the core friend group, and I was just his best friend's girlfriend. I wasn't really wealthy either, but I had some extra money to spare from working in a job at school, so I withdrew $200, left it in an envelope in his house with his name on it, and let him discover it. To this day he still thinks it was his buddy, Andrew. I never saw fit to correct him. It's only money, and he needed to eat. You're a good friend. I've had to scrape by with very little money for food, and small generosity like this makes such a big difference to people in that situation. I had a friend tell me she was frustrated waiting on her food stamps to come in during the pandemic. I wired her a couple $100. She didn't recognize it was me, and the next time we spoke she was *glowing* about the fact that someone cared enough to send her some money. It made my day. My first day as a nanny looking after a baby girl. I take her to the park, and I'm taking videos of her and getting her to walk to me. She walks 3 steps to me and then falls on her butt and cries. It occurs to me that I don't actually know if she has walked with her parents yet. She isn't sure of foot yet. Speaking to her mum later on, she tells me she is super close but hasn't walked yet. I figure she must have walked with me because she was feeling clingy without her mum. I never told her parents she walked with me, and it was about 3 weeks later she finally walked for her parents. This is a good secret. Nothing to regret or be guilty of. I was the one who put the Ernest Goes to Camp VHS in the VHS player. I was the reason the tape got eaten. I stuck a book in the VCR once. Dad was not happy, but it was the same size as a VHS tape, so I couldn't help myself. I had planned on killing my dad with my meds if he was still alive. He wanted to go. We said goodbye, but he had enough of feeling ill. But we believe he was overdosed on morphine by the nurses. I didn't know a death rattle could go on so long. But if he was hanging on the next day, I would have given help. We spoke about it a couple of times. I promised him he wouldn't go gasping for air. I promise if his passing was eased by morphine, he was not gasping for air. Morphine makes your brain think you don't even need oxygen, so he was in no distress. The rattle sounds really weird, but it isn't uncomfortable. I'm sorry you had to go through this process. I masturbated in a school hallway and my teacher caught me. I was 10 at the time. No one ever said a thing. I masturbated around the corner from my entire class during an exam when I was about 12. I never got caught, but I remember not being able to look any of them in the face afterwards. I failed my driver's license test due to someone else running a stop sign. I walked into the DMV anyways and the lady did not check my paper saying it was a fail and gave me my license anyways. How does someone else running a stop sign make you fail? It was me. I peed on the carpet. It wasn't the dog. Not on the rug, man. As a kid I was forced to go to a Catholic confession. I had nothing to confess and made up a lie to confess about. I had to go once. It was the first confession rite. I'm sure it has a name. It was obvious a lot of kids couldn't think up anything good to say because the priest was kind of baiting me on like, okay, have you maybe ever been mean to your sister? Guy at an event I was working got physical, but didn't actually do any damage, though not for lack of trying. It was clear he was trying to actually hurt me, and this was *AFTER*. He'd made a scene in front of a bunch of kids, harassed some other presenters, and in general been a complete dick. He was an absolutely arrogant fuckstick. I told our on-site lawyers he sprained my wrist. Sat through 8 hours in the air waiting to get a little sling and advice to buy some OTC topical pain cream just to make sure he never set foot in one of our events again. I do not regret it. Worth it. I lit a firework in a public park and panicked, so I flushed it down the toilet. Boom. No more toilet. Whoops, I was 12. I'm so sorry I laughed at no more toilet. I'm glad the toilet perished and not you. I was molested as a child/teen by a sister, then later by a teacher. I suffered CSA from a family member as a child. I've opened up about it to my partner, very close trusted friends and counselors, but I will not tell who it was to family, because it would break the hearts of the innocent ones who would blame themselves for not protecting me, or noticing what happened. Once they're gone, if they go before me, I'll have no issue calling out the guilty ones, no matter the personal risk to me from retribution. Not quite to my grave, but biding my time until another's. I cheated on some math homework in college, copying another person's work saved on the computer in the computer lab. He found out and didn't turn me in. I owe him one and wish I could repay him to this day. I still feel weird about it all 25 years later. I downloaded someone else's code and turned it in as coursework. It was so good that the tutor was suspicious and asked me to provide some development notes and comments. I panicked, emailed the person whose program it was and explained. He sent me several previous versions with bugs so I could show my progress, fully commented code, and even some hand sketches of the interface. He signed it all off with "fake it till you make it, bro." I got a near perfect score for that piece of work. Procrastination has taken over my life. I have been taking an online course since 2017. Sometimes I start off on a good note and do my course walk, but for the most part, I've been failing each and every single time. I have failed this term also. I might get lucky and get financial aid for the next term, but I fear I will do the same bullshit again. What is wrong with me? Have you been tested for ADHD? I didn't take a year off of school to get in-state tuition. I got kicked out because my grades were shit. But I'm in grad school now working on a doctorate. Edit. I did end up getting in-state tuition too, so not totally a lie. Also had shitty year which hurt GPA a lot. Worked hard post BS to get good recs and got into great PhD program. I'm glad you shared your story because maybe others will ignore bad advice from profs. Find a prof who believes in them and not let poor GPA stop them. My mom and stepdad were drug dealers and sometimes they would sell me as an extra service to clients. When I was young, the only person I've ever told was the person I believed to be my soulmate. It's embarrassing for me and makes me feel ashamed of myself because of how many times I've been sexually assaulted, but he accepted me and that's something I'm thankful for, but I will never personally tell anyone else besides him. Sending love and hugs. I'm sorry that the people who were meant to protect you did this to you, and I hope that you can heal. I'm pleased you have your soulmates to confide in, and you should never feel embarrassed. You did nothing wrong. I always have this feeling that I need to be somewhere. My mind is always wandering and not in the present moment wherever I am or whatever I'm doing. I'm struggling to find a peace of mind, and sometimes I feel depressed and trapped in this downward spiral. I'm thinking of going for therapy sessions, though I'm not sure how much it might help. Maybe look into ADHD. This is very common, and untreated ADHD can cause depression, and ADHD can be comorbid with depression.